Well, a couple of things there. So, one, we're very grateful and very appreciative that Joe Rogan has joined the platform. And really, what we saw over this last week, to make sure people understand the full context, you had Dr. Robert Malone, who, of course, was the one who invented a lot of the mRNA vaccine, not just the research, but a lot of the patents. You also saw Twitter ban Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yeah. Of course, even YouTube taking down the video of Joe Rogan's interview with Dr. Robert Malone. So, Rogan jumped on. We do not yet have President Trump, although I have talked with President Trump in the last couple of weeks about potentially joining, even as he's waiting for his platform to launch. And really what this is, you're seeing this mass exodus and almost a Brexit-like departure from big tech.
How many are many people signing up to Gettr?
Yeah, so just over the last 48 hours, we're up over 600,000 new people signing up. So we're almost at 4 million. And keep in mind, we just launched on July 4th of 2021. So we're the fastest ever social media platform to 1 million, to 2 million, to 3 million users. We'll be the fastest ever getting to 4 million. But it's really exciting to see the growth for all of this, and especially as we start to get people who aren't even necessarily in politics. People are just from everyday walk of life who say, you know what, tired of the digital jail and the censorship and the algorithms. It's pretty ridiculous.
So what is your kind of ethos for Gettr? Is it basically that as long as you don't incite violence, you can pretty much say anything you want? That's what freedom of speech is all about.
Well, I would say that, our North Star, really kind of our guiding message here, is that Gettr is about free speech and it's about opposing cancel culture. And if you believe in those two things, then you're a perfect person to have a Gettr account. We do have moderation. That is what separated us from some of the platforms that have been unsuccessful in the past. And what I mean by that is you have to have the ability to make sure that people aren't on there suggesting illegal activities or racial or religious epithets. But your political free speech, your ability to go out there and say what you think about these lockdowns, what you think about these mandates, what you think about the regular issues that are coming up in your life, whether it be the migration issues that are causing such issues in the UK, folks coming over on boats and such. If you can't get out there and talk about your everyday political thoughts, and again, not even just politics, but just everyday life, then that's what separates us from the animals, is being able to actually think and communicate.
And basically, you don't stand in judgment of what people put on your platform, whether or not you agree with them or not. I mean, the charge against Twitter and Facebook and Instagram is that if the geeks who work in Silicon Valley don't like what you've posted for political reasons, ask President Trump, they ban you. So presumably your guiding principle is you do not stand in judgment of what people want to say.
Well, as long as they're abiding by our terms of service, then everybody is going to be treated the same. You're not going to be shadow banned or algorithmed or said, well, we don't like your viewpoint, so you don't get free speech rights. As long as you're abiding by our terms of service, then you can come on and talk about your political beliefs, and no one's going to come and say that sentence you off to digital jail. But I think, what we've seen lately, and this is so big with Joe Rogan helped to bring over a lot of people who don't even necessarily want to talk politics. They just want to talk about what's going on in their regular lives. Man, I think of a Matt Letizier, the footballer. Think of Andrew Bogut, former number 1 draft pick from the Milwaukee Bucks in the NBA, an Aussie. Enes Kanter Freedom, who's been an outspoken critic against President Xi and the CCP. It's pretty exciting to get these people who you wouldn't necessarily say are political activists, but they're just people who realize, hey, God, what's going on with big tech isn't acceptable.
What about the use of AI on big tech social media? What's your view on that?
Yeah. So with regard to AI, so we use AI as part of our moderation platform. We do have a proactive and robust moderation effort. And again, to make sure that it's a safe environment, that we don't have people coming on suggesting self-harm or things could really get you into trouble. So what we do with the AI is there are some things, for example, help to screen out things like pornography, things like that. But posts where there's a question, then go to human moderators who go through background training. They go through background screening. screening to make sure that they're not coming in and exercising any political opinions of their own. And then we do spot checks and reviews to make sure that all of our moderators are on top of it. But AI is a good tool to use in conjunction with regard to the moderation, but with regard to the actual your timeline, your feed, is you see that we do not use AI to go and suggest posts to people. If you follow someone, then you're going to see their post. If you don't follow someone, you're not going to see their post unless someone else is maybe reposting them. But because the AI is where it starts getting tricky and people find themselves AI'd out of existence.
Well, that's why I asked you, Jason, because AI in the past has been used to censor posts about vaccines and COVID, etc. Do you not fear that might happen to Gettr as well?
No, not at all, because that's our value proposition. Our value proposition is that we're the all-in-one free speech platform. And our mission when we wake up every day, or when we're faced with a decision, is, are we allowing someone to exercise their political opinion? Are we allowing someone to, within the terms of our service, speak their mind and not worry about just because it might not be politically correct, or the woke culture advocates might not like it? Who are we to go and pass judgment and say that their opinion is no longer valid? That we have a guiding principle, and I think that's what separates us from big tech, who they're going the opposite direction. They knew that what they're doing with Joe Rogan and Dr. Malone and Marjorie Taylor Greene would have a negative impact, but they don't care. Just the same that they didn't care when they kicked off President Trump from social media. That's a business decision. They want to have a certain audience, not necessarily a large audience.
Do you think you'll get to, I know Donald Trump's got his own plans, as we discussed earlier, with his company Truth, but that wouldn't preclude him coming on to Gettr. He'd be a good guy for you to nab, wouldn't he?
He would. In fact, I usually talk to the president about once a week or once every other week. And he asked when we spoke a couple of weeks ago if I'd be fine with him joining the platform. I said, sir, at Real Donald Trump is set aside. It's waiting for you. Heck, I have at Melania Trump. I have the entire Trump family all set aside for when he gives them the green light to go and jump on. And I think the longer that it takes for his platform to get up off the ground, the higher the chances are he joins us. But I will say that it's actually in a little bit of counterintuitive way been better that he didn't jump on in day one, for the simple fact we've been able to get some pretty big hitters like President Bolsonaro from Brazil. You think about some of the other world leaders, the members of parliament, folks who join the platform, that this way they feel like they're the trendsetters, they're the trailblazers, and they're not simply following some new American idea.
Now, I know that it's the right-leaning Twitterers and Facebook users who found themselves banned, and they're naturally going to gravitate towards Gettr. Is there a danger in your mind that Gettr becomes viewed as a kind of forum for far-right people who couldn't get onto Twitter?
Really smart question. Short answer is no, not at all, for the simple fact that what we have is we have a very broad international universe of folks who've made up this platform. And so the US audience is only about 35% of our total user base. Brazil's number 2 at about 15, Japan's number 3 at about 11. UK is, I tell you, with the surge we've had over the last few days, UK is up to about 5 or 6%. But as we've now started to bring on folks who are more in sports and entertainment, it's much more diverse. Here's the one thing, though, I got to make a point really clear. When we did our market research on this and we asked people, why would you want to go to a new platform? Only about a third said because they want to follow President Trump or some center-right politician. 2/3, it was about being anger at big tech. Here's the important point. If you're left of center, right now you're not angry at big tech because they're not censoring or deplatforming you. As big tech gets more and more out of control, as they start to censor people like Nicki Minaj or Rihanna or Dave Chappelle or people in, say, entertainment who dare to say something like, hey, we have a question about a vaccine, that's when people say, wait a minute, I'm not normally political, but if they're going to do this to me, I'm going to pack up and go somewhere else. I don't think the wokesters can help themselves. And by the way, I apologize for the U.S. exporting wokeism. It's one of probably our worst.
Thanks very much for that, Jason.
Yeah, so that
we really owe you one there.
I'll take a mulligan on that one. But on a serious note, they don't know when to stop. And so as they start to kick off more people, keep in mind, traditionally the free speech movement usually largely been kind of a center left over kind of the course of the last century or so. It's only been the last 5 years of this center right has really been carrying the torch on the free speech movement. But you know what? The pendulum's going to swing back, and when it does, I'm going to be here to welcome all the left of center and the liberals who said, "Boy, now we understand why you launched a platform, and we're going to welcome them with open arms."
Yeah, well, if Gettr can turn itself into a broad church, then I think it's got a golden future because a lot of people are disillusioned with the big tech media sites.
And part of that, the one thing, just super quick, part of that, people usually go to social media for two reasons. One, to connect with friends and family, kind of people in their online ecosystem. Absolutely. But the other part is breaking news. One of the biggest things that we've seen over the last few days are a number of news outlets and reporters who have started joining Gettr, which is great because as we increase the breaking news capacity, then people feel like this is more of a destination place for them. So that's really critical.
Well, I wish you all the best with it, and you must keep us updated with progress of your very interesting project. Always a pleasure to talk, Jason. Let's talk again soon.